All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about Cold War, and I've intentionally, sort of held off on making too much content covering this because I wanted to actually play the game first. And as you can see, I have 6 days, I'm rapidly approaching 7 days played on this game, which I think is a fair amount of time to be able to start sort of talking about the game, discussing it, what you like and don't like. The first thing I will say that I love is the Prestige Master system. It gives you the same sort of infinite level progression that you had in previous games, but you don't have to lose everything you've unlocked first. And if you go over to the Barracks tab and you're a new player, you can see exactly what you're unlocking in both multiplayer and zombies. It'll say it. If you look below my camera, you can see like zombies upgrade and loadout, multiplayer, equip, and create a class. And that goes the entire way through, which is a beautiful amount of information to give players. Additionally, I think that letting us buy prestige icons with keys, I think this is a really, really, really beautiful way of dealing with dealing with sort of the issue of having way too many prestige icons for the game. And the only issue, I think, is that you need to reach Prestige Master before you can actually buy these icons, but then when the new season starts, you lose Prestige Master if you're not already above that season's level threshold, which I think is going to end up looking a little bit weird for people with custom icons who aren't Prestige Master, especially in the later seasons. But, that's an issue for another time anyhow. If we just kind of go back over here, though, I wanted to start with the main menu. The main menu in this game confused me for a little bit, and it's already undergone one layout reset, which I think has been really beneficial. So now you see your map, you click Firebase, Endless or 20 round. 20 round is a game mode made for people without a lot of time. Basically, instead of the standard Exfil windows, after 20 rounds, if you survive, the Exfil helicopter comes in, game ends. It's cool. Firebase Z just came out. It's the new map, and of course we've had D Machine since the game launched. And then if you want a private lobby, you just go down to private. Solo, you just go down to solo, and it'll let you change your map from within those menus separately. Of course, if you're on PlayStation, you also have Onslaught, which is a really good mode for farming elites, and I kind of wish they would bring it to everyone as a result of that. Even though having exclusivity is cool, I would rather everybody be able to benefit from the same things in the community, and I think the whole exclusivity model is a little bit dated. Um, Proceeding though, if we go over to weapons, this tab has been really confusing. I've had a couple of friends buy Cold War. I've bought Cold War for a friend, and this is the first thing, the first place you really need to go. And it's a little bit of a weird place, right? Like, it's kind of, what's going on here. So you click create a class, and you've got your custom classes, right? I need to change that out. The M16 is stronger than the Gaio current patch. And, of course, the Wakizashi is incredible. But when you go to create a class, once you unlock it, you're greeted with the option to create classes. Now, this is different than it has been in past games, but I think it's for the better. It's actually a lot more in-depth. If you go over here, you pick your starting weapon and a field upgrade. Now, field upgrades are this game's version of specialists, and they improve on, I think, everything that happened in Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4 had incredible specialists. You had your hammer for damage, you had your staff if you wanted to res, Viper and Dragon gave you monkey bombs on command, once it was level 3, that is. And the chakrams gave you that sort of shield if you just wanted to go in for a quick pickup. In this game, you've got invisibility if you need to res someone, if you need to get perks. You've got Ring of Fire for 6 times damage on all projectiles that come out of your guns while you're standing in it. At level 3, you can see it also blocks projectiles. And then Energy Mine and Frost Blast. Frost Blast is this game's version of Winter's Wail or Widow's Wine, which I think it's good to put it in the specialist category because it has been very overpowered in both of the other games that it's in. But sort of moving beyond that, we have Energy Mines, which are just for general damage. If you use them right, they can take out whole hordes of zombies, and I'm pretty sure they do it forever. But this leads us to the next thing. The game has changed a little bit. You'll see I have 0 Ethereum crystals available. That's because you can't have more than the maximum for all the upgrades you have. But you have upgrades for everything. Everything starts at tier 0, and then for 1 Ethereum crystal, you upgrade it to tier 1, then tier 2, then tier 3. You get Ethereum crystals. On round 10, you get 1, and every 5 rounds you survive after round 10, you get 1. Additionally, I believe you get 2 as a bonus for Exfil, just to sort of sweeten the deal. Having all of them maxed out, I can confidently say that Healing Aura is the best at tier 3. That level 1 is incredible. It actually heals you 25 health per second, regardless of what damage you're taking. So you don't have a normal health cooldown or you have a normal health cooldown that actually stacks with this. But you know, you add that extra 25 health to it, you can survive a lot more, especially when we get to some of the later mechanics we're going to be talking about. Level 2 knocks down everything around every player when you use this. If they're in a corner, if they are surrounded and they're having trouble getting out of it, if you pop your healing aura from the other side of the map, everything around them will fall over. It won't be doing any damage to them for the next couple of seconds. Even elite enemies get knocked down by this beam, which is incredible. They don't fall over, but they do stun for like 5 seconds, I think it is, maybe 6. It's very generous. And tier 3 gives you the staff from Black Ops 4, except it doesn't save perks in this game, which is a shame. There have been teasers that they're adding more levels, and if they do, I really hope they add a beam saves perks thing, because that would be incredible. Now, Ring of Fire. Ring of Fire, you don't really care about the level 1. This is probably, by the way, this is an incredible ability as well. Having 6 times damage makes it really easy to melt the mini bosses, especially because they get multiplayer health scaling. But you're going to have level 2 and level 3 are the incredible ones. The ring blocking enemy projectiles means that if one of the mini bosses tries to shoot something at you, one of the zombies tries to like throw their heart at you or a chunk of meat at you, it's gone. It doesn't hit you at all. So if you're using a ranged weapon, you can sit on one side of the map, the mini boss spawns, you run to the other side of the map, Ring of Fire, and while the mini boss is trying to catch up, you're putting out 6 times damage against it. And tier 3 means that you don't have to reload while you're in a Ring of Fire, which is just beautiful. Like, if you've ever, you know, if you thought LMGs had too big mags, if you thought, you know, SMGs didn't have big enough mags, hold down the fire button the entire time. It is one of the most satisfying feelings I've had in this game, especially because the 6 times damage lets you, especially on early rounds, kind of just spin around and destroy everything. Like, you can Ring of Fire in the middle of a room and just spin in circles and everything will die. But now that the leveling system is done for weapons, you just kind of, you can scroll through the tabs, and you get different weapons in each tab. And these are the weapons that you need to get you need to get gold to unlock diamond, except all the weapons as usual that came out after the base game do not count towards that. So you don't need the Groza for diamond ARs. You don't need the Mac 10 for diamond SMGs. And you don't need the Street Sweeper for shotguns. You don't need the Sledgehammer or Wakizashi for melee. But if we just go out of create a class now, we have our next menu, which is skills. Now this is where you're spending Ethereum crystals. As you can see, you can upgrade all of the weapon classes to tier 3 as well, which is incredible. The ones you're going to be looking for are the unlock 3 additional attachment slots is absolutely incredible. Because the way that attachments work in this game is you can put on 1 attachment for each part of the gun, but you have a limited number of slots, and those 3 extra attachment slots means that you can put on like 1 attachment from every area, so you get the maximum benefit. And those percentage increases are a lot stronger over time than the damage increases. The big one here, though, the one you really need to look out for, is melee. As soon as you unlock melee, you should be upgrading it. By default, you melee with your gun butt, which doesn't do a lot of damage, or your fists, which are your typical knife progression. The melee knife, I believe, works until round 5. And level 2 obviously is just super sweet because all melee primaries have 1,000 damage by default, which gives you 1,100, which gives you an extra round of one-shot killing. Not that you'll need it, as you'll see. I'm going to do a D-Machine review as well, and I'll probably use a melee weapon in the gameplay for that, just to sort of make sure that we can demonstrate this. But tier 3 replaces your gun butt with a Bowie knife. When you have this upgrade, for the first 10 rounds of the game, you one-shot melee for free. No points spent. You used to have to buy the Bowie knife in Black Ops 4, the Gavs in Black Ops 2. To get that melee bonus, you don't have to anymore. You just get it for free. And melee does get you more points than body shots in this game, but not headshots. So meleeing is just a way to sort of guarantee you get the maximum number of points from zombies early game, especially if you're in solo. But if you're in multiplayer, having everybody damage a zombie before someone kills it is the best way to make sure that you get the most points, because everybody will get points on the death of that zombie. even if they weren't the one who actually killed it, so long as they damaged it, which is a new feature to this game, and it's the way that point scaling works in this game. So we've got our weapon class upgrades. I explained the field upgrades earlier. Perk upgrades are incredible. Jug, that tier 3 gives you an extra hit for the entire game. No matter what round you're on, it gives you one more hit than base Juggernog does. Quick Revive is definitely a sleeper perk. Quick Revive's tier 2 specifically, I think, is something that a lot of people miss out on. Reduced delay before health regen is incredible. It means if you're low on health and you manage to escape, you need to spend less time out of the action for your health to start regenerating. It can also make some weird fringe cases where, like, if you have 2 stun grenades, you can throw one at your feet to stun everything and then wait a second or two and throw the second, and by the time the second stun wears off, you have full health again. Additionally, Deadshots tier 1 makes a lot of weapons one shot to the head early game, in addition to giving you auto aim to the head. But one other feature that's really important to note here is you can see all the perks have their descriptions listed right below there. So if you're new to the game and you don't know what's going on, I would highly recommend coming in here, taking a chance to familiarize yourself with all the perks and what they do, and their icons, their bottles. Unfortunately, they don't show you the machines, but in-game you can see the logo for each perk on its machines somewhere. So as long as you get used to those logos, you get used to those perks, you'll be able to find them just fine without even stepping into the game. Ammo mods in this game are nerfed again. Compared to what they were in Black Ops 4 and especially Black Ops 3, they're significantly weaker. I think the only one that got stronger is Brain Rot. The Brain Rot zombie, when it dies, sometimes creates like a little nova, and it kills everything around it, except mini-bosses, special enemies, etc. It also lets you pet the dogs, which is incredible. If you have a dog that's not attacking anything and it's brain rotted, you can go up to it, hold square, you'll pet it. It's so cute. I love it. Cryo freeze, every once in a while, a bullet that you shoot will freeze a zombie. It's really helpful for the armored zombies because it'll just give you an extra second to break their armor plates before you kill them. By the way, armored zombies are basically just zombies with damage reduction. They start spawning on round 20 on D Machine and round 10 on Firebase Z. And they're a little bit annoying, but I'll be honest, they're not too bad. And there are attachments on weapons that say increase armor damage that can help you counter that. Deadwire is interesting. You stun zombies, like it says, 15-second cooldown. And once you upgrade it to level 1, you get an electric field. This actually breaks it in a way, at least in my opinion, because you can't kill the zombie that you've shot with Deadwire with a Deadwire weapon if you have level 1. But the electric field is a mini nova. It deals a lot of damage. Unfortunately, it can create crawlers, which is kind of nasty. But, you know, it does all sorts of just really incredible things. And Napalm Burst is, I mean, I think that people generally consider this one the strongest. I normally run Cryo Freeze because I like slowing everything else down. Slowing everything else down gives you more reaction time. It gives you more time to shoot. And ultimately, Napalm deals 10% of maximum health and fire damage, but your bullets probably deal more than 10% of health. So if you have time to put out an extra shot, an extra 2 shots, an extra 3 shots, I think it outpaces Napalm Burst damage for the part of the game that you're going to be using actual bullet weapons. So, but ultimately, of course, you should try all of them by yourself, and these are probably your lowest priority for Ethereum Crystal upgrades if you're a new player. They're not super valuable at level 1. They don't really change at level 3. And that's really all there is to it. So if you go down to accessories, this is mostly stuff you unlock in the store, like mostly stuff you pay for. You can put on a watch, and then you have the ability to check it with gestures. We have a communication menu in this game. It's fairly simple, but it is really nice. If you press right on your if you press left on your D-pad, you can ping wherever you're looking. So you can like ping an item for your teammates to pick up. You can ping a perk for someone. You can ping a room that you want them to go to. If you are with some, you know, starters, that can be really, really, really valuable. Of course, you can also say thanks. A common tip that some people have in public matches specifically is to equip need help, and if you go down, spam need help or spam ping the floor in front of you, because the down sound in this game isn't very loud. The down icons are kind of small, so like there will probably be people paying attention for it, but it's not as easy to pick up as it was in, like, let's say Black Ops 4, where like somebody goes down and everybody knows it immediately because there's this big like ding. You've got good job. The taunt doesn't really do anything, and check watch is what lets you see the watch from earlier. I think that's about it for what I can explain out of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into a game, and I will be back when I have everything that I need to show you in-game. Alright, so I wanted to start this section off with a little bit of an apology. I know I said I was going to be jumping into game footage, but as I was doing it, I noticed there is a lot to break down in this game. Like, this game has, I think, a level of mechanical depth that's unprecedented in zombies. Maybe it's matched by the perk system in Black Ops 4. Maybe it's matched by the upgrades in Cold War, the tooth upgrades, or not Cold War, ghosts. But, you know, just overall, I think this game is potentially a lot more confusing to new people than many previous Call of Duties have been. That being said, there's a lot here to help you, and I think there's a lot that people miss out on. So I figured it would be best to really slow down and just kind of take a look at things piece by piece. So, like, let's start off with the heads-up display. You've loaded in a game. This is the first thing you're going to see, right? You're going to have in your top corner here is going to be your map. That's a mini map. It'll do like a UAV radar sweep and show you all the zombies on the map marked with red dots, all the mini bosses marked with little red skulls every once in a while. Additionally, you can see on this one, the Pack-a-Punch has its own icon, a wall buy has its own icon, and that's true of all wall buys, and all perk machines have their own icons as well. And then the 3 little bullets is actually an ammo crate, which is something we're going to talk about later. It's a new feature to this game. Next to the mini-map, we have the name of the room you're currently in. So if you have a teammate who needs you to go to, let's say, the crash site, or if you have a guide that tells you to go to the lake, instead of being completely clueless, if you kind of wander around and check on that, you'll eventually be in the crash site or the lake. And then, of course, you'll know that you're in the right place to continue with your guide. Along the top of the screen on the other side, we have your round. That's just kind of how long you survived. Rounds get longer as time goes on, and there are more zombies in them the more players there are, so for the fastest high round experience, you normally want to play solo. That being said, rounds are a little bit more important in this game than they have been in past games, but the best thing that you can use them for on a game-to-game basis is generally setting goals for yourself. So saying, like, I want to have Pack-a-Punch open by round 8, or I want to have Juggernog by round 6, or I want to have Tier 3 armor by round 15, is a good way to sort of gauge your progress and help decide what you want to buy, because as you'll find out later, there's a lot to buy in this game. Now, if we go down to the bottom left corner, what you'll see is a nice little stack of information. You'll see your points, always at the bottom of the screen, by the way, are going to be your points. That little blue bar represents your armor, which we'll talk more about later, and the bar below that is your health. The number next to it is the actual number of health that you have. If you have multiple players in your game, their points, their health, their armor will be stacked above yours, up to the 4 players that you can have in a traditional zombies game. Next to that is the self-revive indicator. If you load into a solo match, you will start with 1 self-revive. However, if you load into a multiplayer match and everybody leaves, the game won't credit you 1 automatically. You can buy these in-game though, so don't worry. You don't only have 1 down in solo in this game. You actually have about as many as you need, if I'm being totally honest. On the right side of the screen, you'll see an alternate ammo type that you might have applied to your weapon. We'll talk about that later. You'll see the Pack-a-Punch tier for your weapon, so tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, because there are 3 tiers of Pack-a-Punch in this game. And then next to that is your ammo. Below that is just the name of the weapon and the weapon's rarity. But moving on over, we have, I actually don't have tactical equipment right now, but if I had a tactical in this screenshot, it would show up on the left side, and the lethal equipment shows up on the right side so that you know what you have in your inventory. Next to that is this game's version of specialists. You activate them by pressing L1, R1. That is healing aura. I think we discussed it earlier. If not, you can find it in the upgrades menu and just kind of look at the description, look at the upgrades. It's my personal favorite, so you'll probably almost always see me running it if I'm playing, if you're watching my gameplay. Now, moving on a little bit later on in the game, you may see some other things. You may pick up a power-up for which you get an icon just above the middle of the screen, and you get a timer next to it. It's a little bit hard to see in this photo, but there is actually a 7 there. There are 7 seconds left on that insta-kill, and below it, as you buy perks, they rack up in the middle of the screen. There are currently 7 perks in the game, and you can buy all 7 of them, and all of their icons will appear right there for you to use. Next up, of course, the next thing you're going to see probably before any zombies is the scoreboard. Now, most of this is self-explanatory. If you have 4 players in your game, this whole top bar that you see, my name, my score, eliminations, critical kills, revives, and downs, will just be duplicated 3 more times with their player names. You can use the D-pad or the mouse to select a different player, and that leads us to the bottom bar. If you look at the bottom bar of the menu, which I think a lot of people miss, at least a lot of the newer players I've seen, you've got your name and your level on the far left side, and next to that, you actually have your points, you have your common salvage, and you have your rare salvage. Now, we're going to get to what those 2 are later, but all 3 of these are forms of currency, and they're very important. You want to try to manage them as best you can throughout the game. This is a menu. There are a lot of interactables in the game, a lot of objects that you can interact with. We'll get to them later. But for now, just know that whenever you open a menu in this game, the cost is always in the top right corner. It will tell you how much you need and what you need with that little icon next to it. And those icons match up with the icons on the bottom of the scoreboard so that, you know, it's nice and easy. There's some continuity for you. And then, of course, in the bottom, you have how much of that you currently have. So you don't need to check your scoreboard. If you just open the menu, you'll see how much of it you have, how much you need to pay, and you can decide whether or not you want to buy that upgrade. Moving right along to salvage. This is something I mentioned earlier. You're going to hear me call it scrap a lot. I probably already have because I call it common and rare scrap, and I think a bunch of other people do as well. But there are 2 tiers of salvage. There's common salvage, which drops naturally on zombie kills and goes up in increments of 50, meaning 1 salvage, like you see in this picture, will give you 50 on your menu. You use it to purchase tacticals and lethals, so your stun grenades, your monkey bombs, your molotovs, your C4, you purchase all of those with common salvage. You also purchase tier 1 and 2 armor upgrades and tier 1 and 2 weapon rarity upgrades with common salvage, and it's used to refill armor and reroll weapon attachments. We'll talk about that more later. There's a slide dedicated to those menus. And the drop rates for this salvage are increased by attachments that say increase equipment drop rate, along with the rare salvage or the rare scrap, the rare salvage, the high grade salvage, which again drops naturally on zombie kills, but it's base 10 instead of base 50, meaning when you pick up one of these, you get 10 rare scrap on your menu. Now, this is used for support purchases. That means it's going to be used for your kill streaks. It's going to be used if you want to replenish your self-revive. You can only carry 1 at a time, but you can get more than 1. So it's, you know, it's a nice change for solo players. And I think it makes it easier to learn the game a little bit off the bat. It's used for tier 3 armor and tier 3 and 4 weapon rarity upgrades because those ones give you more value. You have to, you know, spend a little bit more, and this rare salvage obviously drops a little bit less than its common counterpart, at least in the early game. However, eventually, if you make it to right around 30, I'd say, you'll find that you have more than enough of both to do everything you want. Additionally, by the same rule as the common salvage, drop rates are increased by attachments that increase equipment, or not equipment drop rate, increase salvage drop rate. I'm sorry, that's a typo. But moving right along, we've got some in-world drops. This is the armor plate. It refills a third of a tier 1 armor bar, and the effect is doubled by the second upgrade of Juggernog. It's consumed upon use, meaning you pick it up off the floor, it's gone, it gets added to your armor bar, and you can't use it again. And it's automatically picked up when someone runs over it, and it can also be picked up manually if you hold interact. Continuing right along, this is level 1 armor. This is another armor drop, and a lot of people miss this. When you pick this up, if you don't have any armor at all, it will actually give you level 1 armor for free. That makes it probably the most valuable thing that can drop on the ground outside of some of the power-ups. Additionally, it completely refills the armor bar. So this is like one of the most important tips. If you already have tier 1 armor and you're playing a multiplayer game and someone else doesn't have armor, please, please, please don't pick that up. Ping it, let your teammate get it. It'll save them a lot, and they'll probably be appreciative. We've got ammo magazines. These grant 1 magazine in reserves to any weapon. and it'll refill any amount of empty reserve up to that 1 magazine limit, but can't refill the weapon's magazine, meaning you have to reload before you pick this up if you have no reserves. It's like an old max ammo. And the final thing that drops are actually the lethals and tacticals that I mentioned earlier. You don't put them on and create a class, you might have noticed earlier, as you did in, many past Call of Duty games. Instead, you find them in-game. You find them by killing zombies, or of course you can buy them from crafting benches, which again we'll get to later, and weapon attachments that increase equipment drop rate make more lethals and tacticals drop. It's pretty self-explanatory. Additionally, there are these crystals. These Dark Aether crystals only spawn in the Dark Aether, and they drop everything that world drops, including everything that drops in the world. So everything on that previous screen can drop, in addition to weapons, perk cans, and very, very rarely you can actually get the Wonder Weapon or a ray gun out of these things. But to spawn them, you need to be in the Dark Aether. Now these are Dark Aether portals. They allow players to enter the Dark Aether on a time limit. After a couple minutes, you get kicked out. And these only spawn for map objectives. So you get one to open Pack-a-Punch, at least on D Machina, and then you get another one for the next step of the Easter egg and another one for the next step of the Easter egg and so on and so forth. But if you go through one and don't complete its objective, it'll respawn next round. The Pack-a-Punch one you need to get kills for, but all the rest of them just respawn in between rounds. And each round they respawn all these Dark Aether crystals with them. So if you need self-revives, if you need weapons, if you want to try to roll a free die, it might be worth it to go through a Dark Aether portal, break all the crystals, wait for it to time out, and then start next round. This doesn't work, though, if you're, like, saving a zombie and you break all the crystals, it won't pop back up immediately. It's on, like, there's a cooldown involved in it, too, so you can't just cram it at the end of the round to sort of double dip like that. Moving right along to power-ups, our first one is going to be double points. It doubles points from all sources, and this includes going prone in front of perks. This is an interesting one and another one of those things that I think a lot of people missed out on. If you go prone in front of perks in this game, you actually get 100 points and a little loose change pop up on your screen by default. If you have a double points, that becomes 200, but it only works for one player on each perk machine in each game. It's not a random player, it's the first player to do it, gets it, and nobody else can. And these things are crucial to early game, but they kind of fall off later in the game, like round 25, round 30. Double points kind of stop mattering. But your goal should be getting as many critical or melee kills as possible because they award you extra points. And if you can in the early game, try to start a new round before picking them up, because a new round will always spawn more zombies than the last round had, and it'll spawn them faster. So the more zombies you have, the more points you can get off of one double points, which again is just incredibly valuable to getting doors open, getting perks, getting Pack-a-Punch, etc. Now we've got insta-kill. This is very simple, very straightforward. It sets your damage equal to the zombie health for the round you are on, meaning one bullet or one melee will kill one zombie regardless of the round. And it doubles the damage you deal to mini-boss enemies and special enemies, so you don't get to just one-shot them, but you do get a nice damage bonus against them, which, especially if you combine with Ring of Fire, makes for an incredibly easy kill usually. Next up is the nuke. This kills all zombies and vermin, vermin being dogs, hellhounds, on the map and awards every player 400 points, 800 on double. Additionally, these take half of each mini-boss's health, and they take 3/4 of special enemies' health. Which is, just important to know if you've got, let's say, 3 megatons on the map, if you've got, 5 mimics and 3 manglers, it might be worth picking up a nuke. You'll lose out on the zombie kills, but you will get a lot of damage out on those heavies, on those mini bosses that might otherwise be annoying. And I would say this is a general rule. This isn't like set in stone, but rounds 20 or below, try to only pick up nukes between rounds. Because more often than not, you're going to have more than 400 points worth of zombies on the map, where each zombie is worth the amount of points you get for killing it. So like let's say one zombie is worth 90 points, right? You don't crit, you don't headshot. That means that if there are 5 zombies on the map and you kill those 5 zombies with a nuke, you've lost points. Because those 5 zombies would have given you 450 points and the nuke is only giving you 400. Now imagine what happens if you kill like 50 zombies, right? You end up losing just a lot of points. But the flip side is, if you have 1 zombie left and you have a nuke, and there are 4 people in your game, picking up that nuke will give you 1,600 points total, where killing that one zombie will give one player a maximum of 115 points. So, you know, like it's a balancing act really with nukes early in game because you want to maximize your points. And of course, that being said, I've already explained this, but you lose points most of the time taking nukes in the early game. Points are very important. Of course, they let you open doors. They let you do basically everything in game. Moving on is a fire sale, and this drop only appears once the mystery box moves. And when the mystery box moves, this drop starts spawning, which makes max ammos and carpenters less frequent. You'll find max ammos and carpenters are the most valuable drops in the game. By no small margin, they have incredible effects, and often it's worth it to try to avoid moving the mystery box and try to find a ray gun through another source, try to find a dye machine through another source, or just upgrade your starting weapon because you want more max ammos and carpenters. And the reason that this happens that way is because in game, when you are getting power-ups, the game actually cycles through them loosely. So it doesn't work 100% of the time. Sometimes it's a little bit buggy. You'll see like 2 double points drop right next to each other, 2 insta-kills drop right next to each other, something like that. But basically, there's some line of code in the game that says if a fire sale is available, you have to get a fire sale in between max ammos, unless you have a dog round. Dog rounds are exempt to that. So by putting a fire sale in, you give each zombie that would drop a power-up a chance to spawn a fire sale instead of that more valuable max ammo or carpenter, which, again, not really great. Now, this drop itself puts mystery box in all locations and makes all of them cost 10 points for 30 seconds. All the drops that have durations last 30 seconds. Moving on to bonus points. Gives all non-spectator players 500 points, and this can be worth trying to save sometimes in case you get a double points, because this will be doubled by a double points to 1,000 points a player, which is like, especially early game, it's nice having those extra points. Now max ammo, we're getting into the sort of heavy hitters of drops here. Max ammo refills your ammo, and it refills your clip too in this game, so a reload is not necessary before you pick it up, and it works on down players. However, not players that are spectating, because players that are spectating always respawn with full ammo anyways. If you have ammo, waste it first. Max ammos are a really good time to go on a killing spree. If you see one drop, just shoot everything. It doesn't matter if you miss or not, because the more bullets a max ammo puts back into your gun, the more valuable that pickup was. And unfortunately for max ammos, unlike fire sales, which don't drop until the box was moved, max ammos drop even if no bullets were shot. So even if nobody's wasted ammo, you'll still get max ammos, which kind of sucks for melee players who just need more carpenters. But it's part of the game. Moving right on to carpenters. These repair all non-spectator players' armor fully. That is because spectators lose their armor, of course. They also repair all the barriers on the map. Now, interestingly, a carpenter will not spawn until a barrier has been broken. Not a lot of people know that, but it also doesn't matter because you literally can't defend all the barriers on these maps because some of them are walls that you can't shoot through, so the zombie has to break it down before you can shoot the zombie. And it awards every player in the game 200 points. Again, double points will make that 400. So it's a pretty nice little boost early game, and of course repairing the armor is a nice save. Now, this drop is more valuable than a max ammo in this game because there are other ways of getting maxes, but there are other ways of getting maxes that are more affordable or easier to access than ways of refilling armor, at least for now. It seems like with Firebase Z, they're heading in a direction where they give you more access to armor repair, which is good, and it might make max ammo and carpenters equal, but for now, because carpenters repair your armor, which you can do in very few other locations compared to where you can buy ammo, they're actually probably more valuable, so you want to keep that in mind. Now we're moving on to the interactables. There are a lot of objects in the game that you can interact with, run up to them, open a menu, etc., more than just the build tables that we're all used to from past Call of Duties. So this is a crafting table. It's not from Minecraft, unfortunately, but when you open it, you will be greeted by a menu that looks something like this. You'll have the top bar, and below it'll only show one of these 3 bars. Now, these menus follow the same cost and inventory as before, except you will see there's a tactical menu, a lethal menu, and a support menu. Now, the tactical and lethal add-ons are mostly the same as past Call of Duties. We're pretty used to them, but there are a couple changes I wanted to note. Stim Shot instantly starts regenerating your health. It also gives you a small speed boost, I think. but like basically if you like normally you take damage and it takes a second before your health regens. If you pop a stim shot in that time frame, that second is canceled. A decoy is basically a monkey. It distracts all normal zombies, but it's non-lethal and it has a shorter duration. So it's really helpful if you just need to get the zombies off your back, because it also has a shorter throw time. So like if you're in a corner, it's easier to chuck one of these at your feet than it is to throw a monkey at your feet. The downside, of course, being that you still have to kill everything to get out of that corner, where a monkey would do it all for you. Tomahawks have damage equal to a zombie's health, or it breaks a piece of armor that it hits and deals, you know, reduced damage based on the armor. Molotovs you throw at the ground and they burn zombies. They create a pool of fire, exactly what you'd expect out of Molotovs. And C4, you throw it and then you double tap to interact and it detonates at will. One thing I'll warn you about, if you throw a C4 in front of you, your character will automatically pick it back up, which is really stupid, and I think it needs to be changed personally. But C4 is basically grenades on demand. So if you want to throw a C4 into the middle of a room that you're training in, or onto a wall in a room that you're training in, and leave it until you're in a sticky situation, you can. It won't despawn. It'll be there unless you switch out. If you pick up another lethal, you can't activate the C4 anymore. Like, you can't have tomahawks and C4 on the wall. But as long as you have C4, you can have a piece of C4 on the wall for 5, 10, 20 rounds. It'll be fine. Now, the interesting menu here is the support menu. This actually gives you score streaks and zombies, which are new. It's not something we've had before. It's really nice. The costs vary between 50 and 250 rare salvage. They all use rare salvage, where the tacticals and lethals all use common. The cruise missile, which is the last one in the top row, and the chopper gunner, which is the first one in the second row, give you iframes or invulnerability frames immediately upon use. That means that if you're in a corner, you can use them and you'll be invincible instantly. The zombies will act like you're not there. This is because you pull out a little computer and it takes you to a separate screen, like a separate AI. And the self-res, which you see in the bottom, or which you see in the last slot, which is equipped in this picture because when you play a solo game, you start with one. You can repurchase them right here indefinitely. You can also get them from the Dark Aether crystals. You can also get them from, you know, anywhere else that drops world drop items. You can even get them from zombies. But you can purchase them indefinitely, and all of these items except the self-res can come out of the box too. So when you're doing a box roll, you know, instead of like, I don't know, street sweeper, you could get a sentry turret. And it's really nice actually, because rare scrap is hard to come by early game, and you still have a chance to have access to those, like to that get out of jail free card if you're in a corner, in the form of like getting a helicopter out of box. That being said, we're going to talk more about box later. It is not worth it in the slightest. Moving right along, we've got our arsenal, which has a very similar looking menu. You'll notice all the menus in this game look the same, so that they're easier to follow, which is lovely. Now the arsenal looks like that right up there in the corner. I have a picture of their physical in-world objects up there so you can see them more easily. The two things you can do in this one are armor and weapons. Now armor gives you 38% damage resist at level 1, 56% at level 2, and 66% at level 3. Meaning if you have level 3 armor, you will take 66% of the damage that you would have taken, or you will take 34% of the damage that you would have taken if you had no armor. So it makes you a lot more survivable. It's so much more powerful than shield, and I have spreadsheets right now. I'm working on figuring out how armor is calculated. It seems very, very overpowered. Some loose testing showed that like I was on round 8, and if I just had Jug, I would have been able to survive 8 hits. With tier 1 armor, I was able to survive 14. So and that kind of that'll scale up, that'll mess around. I'm planning on releasing another video with more specific numbers when I have them. For now, just know armor is very, very powerful. And for a replacement for the shield, it's absolutely incredible. And this is why you want to ping the level 1 armor for your teammates. Because giving everybody that damage reduction helps people stay off the ground. It helps prevent people from getting mad. It gives you more time to make mistakes early game. And of course, you just want to be a good teammate. And the costs, 500 common salvage for level 1, 1,000 common salvage for level 2, and 250 rare salvage for level 3. Now, one other important note is that this 4th slot is an armor refill button that you can press at any time, but I recommend not pressing it at all until you have tier 3 armor, at which point it will be automatically highlighted when you open the arsenal. So if you need to do a drive-by to refill your armor, you can pull it up, spam your interact, or you can spam your interact button, spam your purchase button, and then you'll end up with full armor and you'll be able to get out of there. It completely refills however much armor you have, and it costs 250 common scrap regardless of what level your armor is, which is why I would wait until tier 3 or at least tier 2. Because if you're spending 250 common scrap to repair tier 1 armor, that's scrap that could have been going to your tier 1 armor that's instead being wasted. Now if you tab over to the second menu, we've got weapon upgrades. Now the first two, tier 1 and tier 2, give you 1.5 times damage per level, or a 50% damage increase, and they cost 500 and 1,000 common salvage, just like tier 1 and tier 2 armor. Tier 3 and tier 4, by contrast, double your damage per level. These are all based off of base damage, so it doesn't matter what order you upgrade your weapon in here, or what order you pack-a-punch it in, you end up with the same damage. And they cost 500 and 1,000 rare salvage, which, it's a lot harder to get. It takes a little bit longer. So depending on, your skill level in the game, you might consider buying tier 3 armor first. You might consider buying a tier 3 weapon first. Who knows? And this last slot rerolls attachments. By the way, these upgrades all work on the weapon that you're holding in your hand when you open the menu. Please keep that in mind. Otherwise, you might end up upgrading the wrong weapon. But this is an attachment reroll. It rerolls attachments on your held weapon. At least it's supposed to. Right now, it's kind of a mess. It doesn't seem to always work. I've had games where I spend 1,500 scrap on it and it cycles through the same 2 sets of attachments. I've had games where I try to use it on a weapon and it straight up just doesn't change the attachments at all. I've had some games where it removed my attachments. I had a game where it took my weapons. So I wouldn't really recommend using this right now, but in general, that's its function, and it costs 250 common salvage per roll, and it's really good because you can actually re-roll into like bigger magazines, you can re-roll into higher damage barrels, you can re-roll into not a sniper scope if you're really lucky, and you can just kind of go through the game like that and change up your attachments mid-game if you want to, which lets you take a level 1 weapon that you're working on for, like, that you're grinding levels for camos, let's say, and put some higher tier attachments on it to give it a little bit of extra damage. Just that 6-7% you can get from some barrels, or that 11% on tac rifles can be really sweet. Although, one tip on damage, a lot of weapons that have damage barrels have fire rate barrels too. Take fire rate over damage. Putting out more bullets at 100% damage is better than doing 110% damage with less bullets in zombies, because your goal is to stop things from getting to you. But enough of that. Continuing on, we've got our lovely, our fan favorite pack-a-punch machine. Now this comes with 2 menus. The first one is the pack weapon. Second one is ammo mods. Pack weapon, each upgrade doubles your current weapon damage. So if you're doing 250 damage per shot, you'll be doing 500. And these do work with the armory upgrades, so that you can have a maximum of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You can have a maximum of, it's not 13 times. It's 6 times damage. So you can get 3 times extra damage from this, and you can get 3 times extra damage from the arsenal, excluding the damage that your weapon was already at. Now the price is 5,000 points for tier 1, 15,000 for tier 2, and 30,000 for tier 3. It may sound expensive, but I found it's pretty easy to do it comfortably by round 20, even, getting perks in the process. Now, alternate ammo types. All of them cost 2,000. You can switch them whenever you want for 2,000 points. You get to pick them in this game, unlike in past games, which is incredible. They're pretty self-explanatory. The fire one sets zombies on fire. The electric one electrocutes zombies, although I will note that the electric one does create like a static electricity field that does more damage as you upgrade it to tier 3. The cryo one slows down whatever zombie it hits. The brain rot one makes a zombie fight for you for a little bit. And they all activate on cooldowns. So napalm can only, like, napalm has a chance of being on a bullet once every 3 seconds. Dead wire has a chance of being on a bullet once every 15 seconds. Cryo freeze has a chance of being on a bullet once every second. And brain rot has a 40-second cooldown. But keep in mind that those cooldowns don't have 100% proc rates, which means that even if it's been 3 seconds, you may not necessarily get another napalm burst, because there's a percent chance that it applies to the bullet. It either does or doesn't, and if it doesn't, then even if 3 seconds have passed, you still don't see your effect. They're good for a little bit of extra damage. I've heard the napalm is good against heavy and mini bosses, but I haven't tested it because I personally like cryo freeze. I think that anything that zombies is a game, like, the game mode is designed to overwhelm you, right? Like, zombies come in higher numbers, they come in faster. The goal is to overwhelm the player. So anything you can do to slow down the pace of the game, aka cryo freeze, is really helpful, because it gives you that extra second to react. It gives you that extra second to think. It gives you that extra second to, you know, do, let's say, pop a specialist and get yourself out of a corner. Who knows? Whatever it is, slowing down the game gives you extra time to do it, and slowing down the zombies is an easy way of slowing down the game, which is why I love cryo freeze. Continuing on, we've got the mystery box. Everybody knows it. It's a public match player's favorite place to go as soon as they have any points. It costs 950 points per pull, and the first 3 hits on the mystery box are guaranteed to pull weapons or support equipment. They will never be a teddy bear. But after that, the box has a chance to pull a teddy bear, which moves the box to a different location. You can always see the box. If you look up in the sky, there will be a bright blue beam of light shining up into the sky. That's where the box is. And when the box moves, that beam moves too. And this gives you a weapon, and it gives you a weapon with rarity and attachments already on it, but it gives you that based on the round. So the lower round you hit the box on, the less likely you are to get a high rarity weapon. That doesn't mean it's impossible to get a ray gun on round 2, or like it doesn't mean it's impossible to get a dye machine on round 2 or ray gun on round 2. It's just very, 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 very unlikely. I actually don't think the dye appears in the box until you've completed the Easter egg to get a free one either, so you definitely can't get that on round 2. But this is all to say that you shouldn't hit the box early game. When you start a game, your first priority should be setting up, getting your perks, getting power on, getting Pack-a-Punch open, getting, you know, the free wonder weapon or building the wonder weapon if that's what you're into, starting the Easter egg steps. And then once you get into the 20s, 30s, that's when you want to start hitting box, because that's when you'll start really seeing those orange rarity, those purple rarity weapons a little bit more. That'll save you on that rare scrap that you've been trying hard enough to save up already. Additionally, when a player has 2 weapons, they take a third. The weapon that's currently in their hands falls on the floor. It looks like that. You can also pull weapons from Dark Aether Crystals. You can get them from crates for other side Easter eggs. Is that it? Oh, wall weapons. Wall buys will drop on the floor if you buy it. And what this does is it allows you to swap weapons. So if you take something from the box you don't want, instead of losing the weapon that you did have, you can just pick it back up off the floor. But be careful, after a certain amount of time, weapons on the floor despawn. So if you're switching out your weapon to hit the box faster, make sure you pick up the weapon that you want to keep every once in a while. Otherwise, it might disappear off the floor. Now we've got the Wunderfizz machine, which is my personal favorite machine. It gives you access to all the perks in one place. I just noticed my camera kind of obscures the picture. I'm sorry, but you get the idea. And the menu below it is pretty clearly visible as well. So you navigate the menu with the mouse or the D-pad. All of these menus have to be navigated by mouse or D-pad because the joysticks on controllers and WASD keys are free for movement. So you can move while you're in a menu to make sure that you don't get caught, you know, accidentally opening a menu and then it stops you in your place and you get trapped in a corner. The perk price formula is the same as it is anywhere else. It's 2,500 points plus 500x, where x is the number of perks currently owned. Basically, that means your first perk costs 2,500, second one is 3,000, third one is 3,500, and so on and so forth. Each one costs 500 more points until you have all the perks. The 7th perk costs 5,500. And on D Machina, it spawns between rounds 15 and 20. it is, to my knowledge, always active on Firebase Z, and it's always active in the Dark Aether as well. So if you go through a Dark Aether portal, the Wunderfizz should be there. You should be able to use it regardless of what round it's on. Alright, now this is the ammo cache. This is why Carpenters are more valuable than max ammo. These things are all over the map. I think there are like a dozen on D Machina, and when you're holding a weapon, you walk up to the weapon crate, you hold square, it refills your ammo. It costs 250 points to refill the ammo on any unpack-a-punched weapon, 1,000 points to refill a weapon if it's been pack-a-punched once, 2,500 if it's double-packed, 5,000 if it's triple-packed, and if it's a wonder weapon, regardless of its pack-a-punch level, it costs 10,000 points. So that includes the ray gun. The ray gun always costs 10,000 points to refill. Next up, we've got ending the game. So, milestone rounds are an important concept that I didn't go over before now. I'm not really sure where to put them. I don't think this is the best place, but here they are. Including round 10, the completion of every 5 rounds marks a milestone. So milestones are like, it'll pop up on your screen. You'll get a little milestone round pop up. You'll get some bonus XP and a couple other things. It gives you bonus salvage and rare salvage, or scrap and rare scrap. And I don't think a lot of people notice that. The formula is 10 times the round number for both common and rare scrap. That means on round 10, you get 100 common scrap and 100 rare scrap. On round 25, you get 250 common scrap, 250 rare scrap. I think it caps at 250 and 250. Like, I think on round 30, it's still 250 and 250. But I'm not 100%. You guys will have to find that out for yourselves. And each milestone round that you have will award you an Ethereum crystal as long as you don't already have enough Ethereum crystals to upgrade everything. Every time that you every time that you achieve a milestone round, of course, an Exfil window will open. Now, the Exfil will your first objective will be the radio, which you need to walk up to and hold square on. When you do, it'll start a vote. If 2 players in a lobby of 2, 2 players in a lobby of 3, or 3 players in a lobby of 4 agree to Exfil, there will be a vote pop up on screen above your points. You can press up on a D-pad to accept, down on a D-pad to decline. I don't know the controls on PC because I play console. I'm sorry. But if everybody agrees to Exfil, the current wave will be cleared. This includes mini-bosses. I can't stress that enough. If you have mini-bosses in your game and you click the Exfil button, they will all die. They'll be gone. And a special wave will start. A timer will appear on screen with 1.5 minutes. All players in that 1.5 minutes have to make it to the Exfil zone, and then a zombie count will appear. That's the number of players that you have, or the number of zombies that you have to kill, or enemies actually, because it can include elites, that you need to kill within that time frame. So you need to get there, and you need to kill all the enemies before 1.5 minutes passes. When that minute, or when all those enemies are killed, the helicopter will lower, and you'll be able to hold square to board it. And if you succeed the Exfil, the game ends. If you fail the Exfil, you get a little cutscene where the helicopter is shot out of the sky. And again, the game ends. So it's very important to know that, like, once you press the Exfil button, your game is ending no matter how it falls. So if the Exfil starts, even if you wanted to stay, the best thing you can do is just run to the Exfil zone, kill the zombies, help your teammates out, and get out of there with a victory. You get bonus XP for winning, and I'm pretty sure that you get a little bit of, or I'm pretty sure you can get a bonus Ethereum crystal or 2 as well if you Exfil after a certain round. With that, I think that I have concluded my sort of rundown of the, actually, you know what? There's one more thing I want to note. Points are different in this game, again. Points, you get 90 points for a regular kill. You get 115 for a headshot or for a melee kill. But the interesting thing about this game is that all players who damage a zombie get at least 90 points when that zombie dies. So if you have 4 players in your lobby, all 4 of them shoot the zombie once and then someone knifes it. 1 person will get 115 points and 3 people will get 90 points, which means that early game, if you really want to maximize your points to open the map, as fast as possible, you want to have 4 players and each of them needs to put 1 shot into a zombie and then 1 person needs to knife it. Or just make the 4th shot a headshot so that everybody gets points for every kill. You lose out on some points like that during double points, but outside of double points, where you kind of just want to go on a killing spree, That's how points work, and that's how you want to sort of maximize your points. But aside from that, you now have the knowledge you need to, go start up a game of Cold War Zombies. That's not to say that you'll be able to make it to round 100 just because you have the knowledge. The other half of it is execution. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to the map layout, to get used to how the zombies move. And those aren't things that I can teach in videos. Those are things that you need to go figure out for yourself. Where you like to train, where you like to camp, whether you want to upgrade your weapon first or prioritize perks. These are all things that you get to decide on your own as a player. And this should hopefully lay the foundation that you need to make those decisions as effectively as possible and with as much information as possible. So with that, thank you for watching. Since apparently there was a psychological study that showed that saying this increases the chances of it happening, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you like the video. I do read all the comments, even if I don't respond to them, and I do, really appreciate getting them. If there's anything I missed, if there's anything else you're interested in, I will do my best to help you out. And with that, I guess, enjoy the rest of your days.